is Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
It's the weekend review on a Manic Monday, and it's a good evening, Zimbabwe. Welcome to ZiFM Sport. My name is Mike Madodo. With me is Chris Midzi and Alois Munjira, the man behind the desk, Sean Tafirenyika, our producer. We are casting our eyes back to the weekend and all the action that transpired. What makes weekend so special for football fans and sports fans in general. On the home front, there were wins for Tuskers and Southern Rocks on day 2 of the domestic T20 cricket competition at Harare Sports Club yesterday. We go in depth in that. Can Zimbabwe have finally located a cracking star who could come in the middle order to show up the batting in the Pakistan tour of Zimbabwe? That is one of the key and principal things we'll be discussing as the name Marumani from the Southern Rocks has emerged for discussion. We also have international sports news where Hideki Matsuyama overcame a nervy start and a pressure-induced back nine stutter to become the first Japanese player to win a men's major with a one-shot victory at the Masters.
We'll have more international sports news for you when we take you around the world in 60, starting off in South Carolina, where Russian world number 38 Veronika Kudermetova blasted her way to her first career WTA title with a straight sets win over Danka Kovinic at the Volvo Car Open in Charleston. In Colorado, Jason Tatum had 28 points and 10 rebounds. Jaylen Brown finished with 20 points and 8 rebounds as the visiting Boston Celtics rallied to beat the Denver Nuggets in a key NBA matchup. And of course, we'll have Super Rugby Aotearoa results from New Zealand and Super Rugby AU results from Australia.
And then the second half of the show is all about the Castle Lager World Football Report, which we kick off in Spain. Zinedine Zidane has rejected Ronald Koeman's complaints about the officials after Real Madrid beat rivals Barcelona 2-1 to stay in the hunt for the title in La Liga. Over in England, Jose Mourinho has reacted angrily to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer after the Manchester United boss hit out at Heung-min Son following the visitors' 3-1 win at Tottenham, which dented Spurs' top 4 aspirations. In Germany, Borussia Dortmund young midfielder Jude Bellingham chipped in with a goal in a match teenager Ansgar North fired in an 80th minute winner for his first professional goal as BVB maintained their slim hopes of a top 4 finish with a 3-2 victory at Stuttgart. But before we get there, we got our power play. It is a Manic Monday. And also don't forget our play of the day, which comes smack bang in the middle of the show. To get us off to a roaring start, this is Cardi B as the track Up.
The Warriors, the Chevrons, the Cheetahs, the Mighty Warriors, and the Sables. From the pool to the track to the field, we are Team Zimbabwe. The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
And don't forget, we like to keep it interactive, so send us your thoughts, your views on what transpired in the world of sport over the weekend at ZiFM Sport on Twitter as well as Facebook. And if you know someone who can't catch the show live right here on ZiFM Stereo, tell them they can actually listen to the show at their own time, at their own leisure. They just need to go to YouTube and search for us by name. Now, let's go to the domestic T20 cricket competition here in Zimbabwe. That is what's front and center this evening. There were wins for Tuskers and the Southern Rocks on day 2 of that competition at Harare Sports Club yesterday. In the first match of the day, Tuskers edged Eagles by 5 runs before the Rocks saw Rhinos by 4 wickets in the day's second game. Right, let's give you the tail of the tape for the Tuskers versus Eagles game. The Tuskers 147 for 5 in 20 overs. Milton Shumba 37 not out. Simbarashe Haukozi 33. And then the pick of the bowlers for the Eagles, Tapiwa Mufudza, who snared 2 for 25. The Eagles, in reply, 142 for 8 in their 20 overs, falling just short by 5 runs. Regis Chakava, 65. Chamuchi Baba, 36. And then the bowlers that did the damage for the Tuskers, Milton Shumba, who picked up 5 for 18, and Chowton Chuma, 2 for 16. The Tuskers winning by 5 runs. And then in the Rhinos and Rocks game, the Rhinos 158 for 5 in their 20 overs. Ryan Bell, 53. Tarisai Msakanda, 38. And then Roy Kaya, 2 for 19 for the Southern Rocks, who, when they batted, made 159 for 6 in 17.4 overs. Tadiwanashe Marumani, 60. Tendai Chisoro, 35 not out. And the bowlers that tried valiantly for the Rhinos but ultimately in vain were Jonathan Campbell, 3 for 19. Charles Kunje, 2 for 28. The Southern Rocks winning emphatically by 4 wickets. And Chris, when you take a look at the performances over the weekend, you've got to say that Tadiwanashe Marumani is the name that's on every local cricket fan's lips because of his fantastic performances.
Yeah, Tadiwanashe Marumani is one of these green shoots that we're seeing in our domestic competition, and I think that's especially what it's great for, is identifying some of this talent. And he really put up a good amount of runs for the Southern Rocks, 60. And when you take a look at him, you then take a look at him and the other green shoots as well to say, okay, are these players that we can fit into the senior national team? He's 19 years old, incredible form at the moment, and he's one of the players that we can take from our domestic competition, which is really what it's producing, is producing some of these green shoots.
Yeah, and I like the looks of him. He looks like he reads length very well. He picks it up very quickly, which will come in handy if he's up against those wily Pakistan spinners. And so he could be well worth the gamble of being thrown into the deep end versus Pakistan, who are going to be touring Zimbabwe after they end their tour of South Africa. I know it's a higher level of competition, Chris, but is he worth the gamble in your eyes? Because we have complained far too often about the fact that Zimbabwe cricket far too often recycle talent in the chevron. So players who fail, they pick up form, they're thrown back in the chevron setup, they fail again, they go back to the domestic scene, and that cycle keeps playing itself out over and over again. Do we throw in your Marumani versus Pakistan and say, you know what, even though he's young, he's inexperienced, he's probably worth the gamble?
He's probably worth the gamble. I think if you take a look at the way that he's been playing, if you take a look at form, and also if you compare that to our more experienced campaigners who sometimes don't come to the party when the team desperately needs them to. I think especially in that middle order, like we've been seeing when Zimbabwe goes out, we're not necessarily getting the best from our so-called experienced campaigners. So why not take the risk? He's 19 years old. He needs to get experience somehow. And I think especially in a tournament that's going to be played at home, that's when you take the risk. Some people might point to the fact that, look, we give these kids a chance. Sometimes they don't necessarily perform, like Wesley Madevere. He was given an opportunity and he didn't necessarily do anything. So people will question that, but I think when it comes to these players, you have to take the risk. They have to get their hands dirty, and that's how they get the experiences. You have to give them the run out. So I definitely think he's worth the risk, especially now considering the way the chevrons are set up. They definitely need to take the risk.
And of course, if you also consider that over the last decade and a half, development really hasn't been at the fore of Zimbabwe cricket. And so they've been forced to thrust some of these youngsters to the fore as far as national team cricket is concerned. Wesley Madevere has done well in certain parts. And of course, at the last tour to the United Arab Emirates to play versus Afghanistan was not exactly the best. But we hope that Tadiwanashe Marumani can be one of the ones that is thrown into the deep end. Let's take a look at Saturday's action. The Mountaineers were up against the Eagles, and the Eagles were too good, winning by 7 wickets. Your upcoming matches tomorrow see the Eagles take on the Rhinos in the morning match, and in the afternoon encounter it will be the Rocks versus the Mountaineers. On Wednesday it's Rocks versus Eagles in the morning and Tuskers versus Mountaineers in the afternoon matchup, and then there's just the one game on Thursday, and it will see the Tuskers taking on the Rhinos.
Hi, my name is Sean Williams, Zimbabwe cricket captain. You're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Right, that's the local cricket done. Let's go to the international cricket. And of course, the IPL got underway this past weekend. And here are some of your results. A half century from England's Johnny Bairstow was not enough as the Sunrisers Hyderabad lost by 10 runs against Owen Morgan's Kolkata Knight Riders in their IPL League opener yesterday. And this is something of a surprise result, Chris, because KKR, no one tipped them versus Sunrisers, but they've got a nice result to launch their campaign on.
Yeah, this is definitely a great result to launch their campaign on. We hadn't really, I think, in our discussion on Friday, this is not a team that anyone had actually put their bets on. And coming into this, getting this off to a brilliant start like this, I think is going to bode well for them for the rest of the tournament.
And of course, Nitish Rana was absolutely fantastic with the bat, top scoring with 80. Saturday's action, last season's runners-up, the Delhi Capitals, started their campaign with a comprehensive 7-wicket win over 3-time champions Chennai Super Kings. Again, we asked the question, should MS Dhoni be playing in this team? Is it time he waved goodbye to the IPL? But he's got a full campaign to prove us wrong here at ZiFM Sport. And then Friday's opener, so Virat Kohli's Royal Challengers Bangalore defeating the defending champions, the Mumbai Indians, by 2 wickets in the season opener. You've got to say that they are looking quite good, RCB. Glenn Maxwell looks like a smart bit of business. And of course, De Villiers batting lower down the order as a finisher could just give their batting lineup the balance they need to go deep in this competition. There was also some international cricket, South Africa versus Pakistan, and Pakistan, they won the first T20 international between those teams, courtesy of Mohammad Rizwan's unbeaten 74. That's so Pakistan chased down 189 with the ball to spare as they beat the Proteas. And you've got to say that Pakistan are showing really good form, Chris, in South Africa. And Zimbabwean cricket fans will receive them here with a lot of trepidation.
I think they're going to be received with a lot of trepidation. They're definitely in good nick and good form. And if you take a look at the chevrons, not necessarily so. I think when they went up against Afghanistan, they floundered where we expected them to win. So coming up against stronger opposition, I think is going to be a very big challenge for the chevrons.
And one thing that I think the Chevron's going to have to work on is the boundary hitting, because if you take a look at some of the hitting from the Pakistani side, these guys are really good at clearing the rope. If you take a look at the equation, they needed 52 from 4 overs and at some point 38 from just 18 balls, but they still managed to get the business done. Rizwan, he hit 9 fours and 2 sixes. So, and also if you consider they got Babar Azam, who I consider to be all round the best batsman in the world, it's going to be a tough ask for the Chevrons.
How is it, guys? Elvis Tigulayo Pomba Moyo, WPF.
This is the bomb.
All Africa heavyweight champion 2-time. You are listening to ZiFM Sport.
Let's give you a local sports news roundup, starting with boxing news, where the graph of rising boxing star Brendan Boy Cadenas continues to grow after a huge win over highly rated Afghan fighter Ahmad Samir Dawan in a non-title bout in the UAE on Saturday evening. Boyka, who is the reigning WBF International and WBO Africa champion, stuck to his orthodox style to outwit his rival by a unanimous decision. In athletics news, Zimbabwe's long-distance runners will have to wait for another opportunity to try and qualify for the Tokyo Olympics after they missed qualification yesterday in Italy. The quartet of Munyaradzi Jari, Ngonizashi Ngube, Isaac Mpofu and Fortunate Chidzivo were among athletes who competed in the Xiamen Marathon and Tuscany Camp Global Elite Race. However, they could not make the qualifying times for the games, which has been set at 2 hours 11 minutes 30 seconds for the men's marathon and 2 hours 29 minutes and 30 seconds for the women. We'll finish off with rugby news, where Zimbabwe rugby player Tinotenda Blythe Mavesere was in sublime form for the University of the Western Cape with a hat-trick of tries to inspire his team to a 47-40 victory over Nelson Mandela University in South Africa's Varsity Cup match played at the Tuck Stadium in Pretoria yesterday. It was the first win for UWC in this year's Varsity Cup, as they had drawn one and lost the other match they had played prior to the win.
From the front of the grid to the back of the net, it's ZiFM Sport. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play.
This is ZiFM Sport on a Monday. Don't forget, in the second half of the show is the Castle Lager World Football Report. We'll touch on lots there, but first, the most prestigious golf major of the year was on this past weekend, the Masters, where Hideki Matsuyama overcame a nervy start and a pressure-induced back nine stutter to become the first Japanese player to win a men's major with a one-shot victory at the 85th Masters. His overnight four-stroke lead was quickly reduced to one when he bogeyed the first, and Will Zalatoris started with a pair of birdies, but Matsuyama restored his composure and looked set for a back nine procession when he led by 6 with 7 holes to play. Let's hear from the new champion, Hideki Matsuyama.
そうですね。今日は朝からずっと緊張してたんで。
I'm really happy. My nerves really didn't start on the second nine. It was right from the start today, and right to the very last putt. Hopefully I'll be a pioneer in this, and many other Japanese will follow. And I'm glad to be able to open the floodgates, hopefully, and many more will follow me.
Mike, this is brilliant for Hideki Matsuyama as a player, obviously, but also national pride here as the first Japanese player to win a men's major.
Yeah, absolutely. Not to mention the small fact that he walks away with a check of $2 million for winning the green jacket. But this is something that was a long time coming because Matsuyama is already one of the star names on the US PGA Tour. One of the guys that goes into any major tournament, goes into any tournament with realistic prospects of getting that win. And we know how difficult it is in the world of sport, because in golf, for example, you can have as many as 20 or 30 players who can actually win a major. Then you have to put in the big performance over 4 days to win it. And that's what Matsuyama finally managed to do at the Masters at Augusta. He was very nervous on the final day yesterday, you could tell. He had a sizable advantage, which the more experienced campaigners would have really just managed themselves over the 18 holes just to make sure that they're playing safe and accurate golf. But the nerves were telling, and he literally just crawled over the line. I mean, getting into the back nine, he led by 6. And to think that he only managed to win by 1, it just shows you that Zalatoris never gave up hope of actually catching him. And Matsuyama as well, the nearer he got to the finish line, the nervier he got. But in the end, you got to congratulate him for winning, because at the end of the day, it's about who puts on the green jacket after playing 4 days of golf. And it was Hideki Matsuyama.
Incredible win for him. But when we previewed the Masters last week, Mike, we didn't necessarily pick him as one of the players we thought would be able to walk away with the green jacket. Take a look at players like Jon Rahm. Strong finish, but it was really too little too late for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, getting into any major, yes, Hideki Matsuyama might be one of about 20 to 30 players that can win a major, but he's not going to be one that many people are going to tip to actually do the business. Jon Rahm, one of the guys, I think you called him as your dark horse.
Yeah.
And he will be kicking himself because he had a poor couple of days out at Augusta. If only he had just managed to keep it together on days 1 and days 2, he would have been wearing that green jacket last night at Augusta. And so he'll be kicking himself, because for him, he had such a strong finish, and to have finished just 4 shots behind the leader is something of a minor victory. You also take a look at Jordan Spieth, another one as well, who, listen, he got himself so many times within striking distance of, first of all, Justin Rose, who led for a vast majority of the major, but whenever he got into striking distance, he sort of like made a mistake. He would make that double bogey, he would make that bogey, and then the leaders would once again pull away. So he never quite got there, and he finished 3 shots behind Matsuyama. Another one, just like Jon Rahm, who will be kicking themselves and just wondering what could have been if they had been consistent over 4 days.
Big congratulations once again to Hideki Matsuyama, but not a great weekend for the big hitters, Mike. You take a look at that list: DJ, McIlroy, Sergio Garcia, Brooks Koepka. All of these players floundered, and these are the big hitters on the tour.
Yeah, absolutely. So the whole, wanting to tame the course, conquer the course with big hitting was not exactly the right approach at Augusta this past weekend. It needed a bit of finesse, and that's why you see the likes of Hideki Matsuyama, Zalatoris, Xander Schauffele, Jordan Spieth, Mark Leishman. These are guys who've got a bit of finesse. They just don't bomb it down the fairway and try and beat the living daylights out of the course. It needed a bit of finesse, and these guys struggled with the approach.
That approach definitely didn't work for them, but first major of the year done. Hideki Matsuyama with a win, and that's 3 to go.
Hi, my name's Ryan Cairns, Sunshine Tour professional golfer, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
We take off in South Carolina, where Russian world number 38 Veronika Kudermetova blasted away to her first career WTA title with a straight sets win over Danka Kovinic at the Volvo Car Open in Charleston. Kudermetova hit 6 aces on her way to a 6-4, 6-2 win. In Colorado, Jason Tatum had 28 points and 10 rebounds. Jaylen Brown finished with 20 points and 8 rebounds as the visiting Boston Celtics rallied to beat the Denver Nuggets 105-87 in a key NBA matchup, trailing 79-65 late in the third quarter at the Ball Arena in Denver. The Celtics went on a run of 31-3 to turn the game around as they ended the Nuggets' 8-game winning streak. And we have some Super Rugby results starting in New Zealand. Aotearoa, the Hurricanes losing to the Crusaders after an extra time golden point, 30-27. What a fantastic game that came hot on the heels of Saturday's encounter, which also went to extra time, and the Chiefs getting the better of the Highlanders 26-23 in added time. In Australia, the Reds beat the Brumbies 24-22, and the Rebels were edged out by the Western Force 16-15.
The Castle Premier Soccer League, La Liga, Serie A, the English Premier League, the Bundesliga. It all comes together with the Castle on the Castle Lager World Football Report. The league that makes football oh so beautiful, where artistry and strokes of genius are the order of any day, where the game is played with a smile and the little master creates his magic.
It's Lionel Messi!
All the news from the Spanish La Liga on ZiFM Sport.
The goal the world wants it!
It's the biggest club game in world football, and it was on this past weekend. Real Madrid beating their bitter rivals Barcelona 2-1 to stay in the hunt for the title in La Liga. Now, Zinedine Zidane has rejected Ronald Koeman's complaints about the match officials. Let's get the post-match thoughts of both managers, Zizou and Ronald Koeman.
In terms of our physical levels, we're at our limit. We have had to face a lot, but that's football, and that is good. We played well. We got 3 points, but it doesn't change much. We are still competing with other teams for the title this season, and we don't know what will happen. We have to play many tough matches in the next few weeks, and we have to keep going. But our fate is in our own hands, so we won't focus on what other people are saying about it. That won't help us at all. In my opinion, it is a penalty. Everyone has seen the incident, and it is clear, but we didn't get it, and I don't understand. The officials were 10 meters away and not able to see. Martin Braithwaite was there, and it is a foul. The referee, maybe, was not able to see the move, but the referee also had VAR to help in these kinds of situations. VAR should assist the referee. Of course, there is a referee, but he's not able to see everything, and therefore we have VAR. I know it should have been a penalty. I want to say that again. I don't want to go into the details. We lost the match, and we were strong. We tried our best until the last minute.
Alois, welcome to the show, and I want to start with you, Alois, and let's start off with those allegations made by Ronald Koeman around the match officials. And I guess the big complaint will be the so-called foul on Martin Brathwaite in the dying embers of the game. What did you make of that decision?
I thought it was a foul, right? But it depends with the referee of the day. You know, there's a lot that is happening in football, Mike, where it's up to the referee. Even when we look at VAR, they have to call the referee and say, "Come and have a look for yourself," so that you make the final decision for yourself. So it goes either way. But to actually say that the referees were bad on the day, I don't think so, because I was watching that match. I think everything went fair and fine, and Real Madrid were very good, especially like we discussed in midfield. They were very solid, they were exceptional, and they scored great goals as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Real Madrid, especially in the first half, I thought they showed their class. In the second half, Chris, though, it was a different Barcelona. And this Barcelona side is starting to develop a bit of character, because heading into half-time, it looked like Real Madrid will probably run away as winners. But they were lucky at the end of it to walk away with all 3 points.
Yeah, they were definitely lucky to walk away with it with all 3 points. That second half was a totally different Barcelona. We saw a lot more bite. We saw a lot more attacking flair. And it's also in part due to that change in formation by Ronald Koeman, bringing in Griezmann, Dembele playing wide where he's more effective. And those changes in the second half definitely gave Barcelona a lot more impetus than we saw in the first half.
You've got to say that initial move, Alois, to play Dembele as a target man, as a number 9, it really was a poor call by Ronald Koeman. He seems to have panicked in his initial team selection, because he changed the way Barcelona has been playing this year.
Yeah, I don't know why he even started Dembele as a false number 9, because Dembele is more effective when he is actually part of the counter-attacking move of Barcelona, because he is the speedster. He is the one with the speed, and he is actually needed for the counter-attacking. For him to actually play as a target man, I didn't think it was wise. You know, if he really wanted a false number 9, I know that he was like deprived of a lot of creative midfielders. I would rather he started with Lionel Messi as the false number 9, because that's the position that Guardiola actually used him to so much effectiveness, and I thought that was actually a better option for him to play Lionel Messi as a false number 9 as compared to Dembele, who thrives on his speed to do counter-attacking football. So I thought that was a bad move by Ronald Koeman, but he did well to make all those changes. When he did the changes, it was very effective, and Barcelona started playing good football, and they looked like they were going to come back into the game and actually salvage something out of it.
Chris, some might say that the differences actually between the two sides lies in the fact that Barcelona is struggling to find an effective central striker, whereas Real Madrid has got one of the best central strikers in the world right now in Karim Benzema. And I mean, his movement and that first goal he scored just shows you that he's a player who's not only bang on form, but high in confidence.
Yeah, bang on form, high in confidence. And initially when he started playing in that position, we didn't expect a lot from Karim Benzema, but he's definitely come through in leaps and bounds for Real Madrid. And like you said, Barcelona needs that same target man, and they need to find one as soon as possible, or make those changes to have one available, especially for matches such as this one.
Yeah, big win this one, Alois, because it opens up La Liga completely, because what we have now, and I'm going to give the weekend results and the log standings in a bit, but what we have now is a situation where Atletico Madrid's advantage at the top is down to 1 point, and even Barcelona, who is in second place, is within 2 points of Atletico Madrid. So there are 2 points separating the top 3 teams.
Now, this is quite interesting, Mike. This is actually what we want to see. These are the traditional giants of Spanish football, and they are occupying position 1, 2, 3. Never mind the order, but they are the top 3 of La Liga, and it's quite interesting that they are going into the last stretch of the matches, staying like that. This is going down to the wire, and it's going to be quite interesting to see how this pans out. I was happy with the Real Madrid win, so that, you know what, for all 3, they are now bound together. But I can still blame Atletico Madrid for letting this go. for letting this lead being cut to only 1 point. They were rolling away from it. At one time, they were like 10 points away from the rest of them. I don't know how they just let this go. But for us, the neutrals, we are not Atletico Madrid fans. So we are happy that this has come to this, and we are going to see a photo finish in La Liga. This can only be good for football fans.
And of course, at one point, Atletico Madrid, they led by 7 points with 2 games in hand, meaning that they had a potential lead of 13 points, but it's been whittled down to just 1 point. And they dropped points again this past weekend to Real Betis, that match ending in a 1-1 draw after Carrasco had given Diego Simeone's men the early lead. I think Atletico Madrid scoring in the 5th minute of that game. Now, let's take a look at the rest of your weekend results. Huesca beat Elche 3-1. Getafe beaten at home by Cadiz 1-0. You must say that Cadiz has been very impressive in this dance that they've got in Spain's top flight. Athletic Club of Bilbao was held to a goalless draw at San Mamés by Alaves. Aiba losing at home to Levante 1-0. Villarreal also lost at home 2-1 to Osasuna. Valencia and Real Sociedad played out a thrilling 4-goal match there. It ended 2-0 at La Mestalla, and then Real Valladolid losing at home to Granada 2-1. So it seems to have been a very good weekend for travellers out in Spain. A brief look at the top of the league. Like I said, Atletico Madrid are leading, 67 points. Real Madrid are second, 66 points. Barcelona third, 65 points. They've all played 30 games. They have all won 20 games. It's going to be a nerve-wracking finish for fans of these three clubs in the Primera Liga.
From Rufaro to Barberfields, Mandava to Nyamunga, all the perfect moments in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League come together on ZiFM Sport.
Let's head into England now. Take a look at the weekend that was. Jose Mourinho has reacted angrily to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer after Manchester United boss hit out at Heung-min Son following the visitors' 3-1 win at Tottenham. Let's hear from Mourinho.
I said we shouldn't be conned, but I have to say, if my son stays down like this for 3 minutes and he gets 10 of his mates around him, if he gets that in the face from one of his other mates, and he needs 10 mates to help him up, yeah, he won't get any food. And I'm still saying that. I'm saying the same now as I did with the first time we played him.
I just want to say, Sonny is very lucky that his father is a better person than Ole. Because I think a father, I am a father, I think a father, you have always to feed your kids, doesn't matter what they do. If you have to steal to feed your kids, you steal. I'm very, very disappointed, and because with me, like we say in Portugal, bread is bread and cheese is cheese, I told already Ole what I think about his comments. And I have to tell you that I'm very, very disappointed that in 5, 6, 7 questions you ignore the dimension of that comment.
Alois, the match itself was a little bit messy, and you'd expect the managers not to drag themselves into the mess. But here they are, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer making statements about Heung-min Son, and Jose Mourinho rightfully defending him.
Yeah, of course, Jose was always going to have to come to defend his player, and I also thought that Ole should have been a bit mature, not to get too deep personally, into the incident, because when you look at it holistically, there were a lot of incidents of that nature from both sides. So for him to actually attack the player in that manner, I don't think it was appropriate. I thought that he could have attacked the referee rather for actually disallowing the goal. Yes, because those incidents, even the one that Scott did, there were a lot of those incidents which Bao didn't even check. We were watching with our friends, and we actually saw about 3-4 incidents exactly the way Scott did it, from Spurs players, from Manchester United players. They went unpunished. So I thought that, if it's football and we start disallowing goals because of such physical contacts, then football becomes messy. Yesterday I thought the referee was so good because he allowed a lot of a lot of hard tackles to go on, and we were actually praising him. But for him to disallow a goal now for that soft touch, it was actually surprising, because he had let go incidents that we thought he could have blown, and we were praising him that, you know what, this is a men's game, this is physical, he's letting it go, let the game flow. So I thought that was not on. But for Ole to then come back and attack a player for something that was done by a lot of other players, which is quite normal in football anyway, I thought it was inappropriate.
Thought it was inappropriate. Mike, we've been talking throughout the season, week in, week out, about VAR and its use, but we're seeing more and more the level of officiating in English football almost highlighted by VAR and its inclusion in the games.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the level of officiating, Chris, because I think mistakenly sometimes we tend to say VAR is the problem. VAR is not the problem. What I'm seeing in England is the match officials and the interpretation of the law. So you take, for example, the Manchester United disallowed goal. Yes, there is contact that is made by Scott McTominay to Son's face. But then the decision has to be made that, is it sufficient enough for you to fall down in the manner that you did? You know, because Son looked like he'd been so it's about the amount of contact. That's where the interpretation has to come in to say the amount of contact. Does the amount of contact warrant for the player to go down like that? And I think a common sense decision would have been, no, it does not. That goal should have stood. And then you also then have to consider the fact that Paul Pogba catches Serge Aurier with an elbow to the neck. Now that was actually a deliberate movement. He elbows the player. VAR doesn't even check and nothing happens. So we are saying that it's not VAR that's the problem. It's the officials that are interpreting the laws of the game. They are doing it badly and they're doing it wrongly. I think common sense just needs to come. And sometimes you get the feeling that the English referees are beginning to nitpick and starting to re-referee matches through VAR.
Absolutely. Jesse Lingard, though, continued his fine scoring form with 2 more goals as West Ham beat Leicester City 3-2 to move back into the top 4. Alois, we've seen this resurgence of Jesse Lingard. A lot of people asking questions. What exactly do you think accounts for this fine scoring form that previously, while he was at Manchester United, we weren't seeing?
I think it all boils down to confidence, Chris. You know, sometimes you are a small fish in a big pond, then you go into a small pond, you become a big fish, then all of a sudden you've got this confidence. I think that's what had happened to Jesse Lingard. At Manchester United, he was now surrounded by these top stars, Bruno Fernandes, Paul Pogba. They just arrived, and probably his confidence, it got knocked down and he was not performing. He is a good player. He plays for England. And, you know, now that confidence, now he's being surrounded by these big players. But as soon as he moved to a smaller club where he is now the bigger fish, he has got this confidence and he knows that people are looking up to him to deliver. And all of a sudden he believes in himself. And this is exactly what has been happening. Look at his first goal. That first goal is from somebody who has got belief. Anybody who doesn't have belief would not have taken that goal first time. He would have not have taken that shot first time. But because he believes in himself now, he can actually do it. This is things that he was supposed to have been doing at Manchester United, but because of lack of confidence, he was not doing. So I think that resurrection is coming all from confidence, not from ability.
Yeah, and I think the biggest mistake that Jesse Lingard could ever make is going back to Manchester United. He won't be able to do the things that he's doing at West Ham right now at Manchester United, simply because at a club like Manchester United, one, he's not going to have the free roll that he's got at West Ham. Two, he's not going to be seeing the ball as much as the amount of times he gets to be on the ball at West Ham. At West Ham, he is now an integral part of the attack. So whenever West Ham are in an offensive transition, the ball invariably will pass through Jesse Lingard. You go to Manchester United, there's Paul Pogba there. There is Bruno Fernandes there. There's Marcus Rashford there. So you are having to share the ball. And sometimes players like Jesse Lingard, they then get withdrawn. They withdraw. They're not good when they don't have the ball. So I think he needs to play at a club where he is central to what they are doing. And West Ham is one such club. He is very central to what they are doing. And for me, he might well try and consider joining a club of that nature. I'm not saying stay at West Ham, but go to a club where you are definitely part of the plans, because who is he going to take out to Manchester United? He's certainly not going into the starting lineup.
He can't go back there.
Well, fingers crossed for a move for him in order to get the best from Jesse Lingard. The rest of your Premier League results from the weekend: Wolves with a 1-0 win against Fulham, Leeds United with a surprise 2-1 win over Manchester City, Liverpool 2-1 against a plucky Aston Villa, Chelsea 4-1 against Crystal Palace, Burnley going down against Newcastle 2-1, and Arsenal with an emphatic 3-0 win over Sheffield United. Quick look at the table. It's getting interesting in that top four section. Manchester City right at the top with 74 points. In second, Manchester United. In third, Leicester City. West Ham making it into the top four. Chelsea in fifth. Liverpool in sixth. Tottenham in seventh. All of these teams still in touching distance. And in tonight's action, West Brom takes on Southampton and Brighton versus Everton.
Alcohol may be hazardous to health if consumed to excess. The operation of machinery or driving after the consumption of alcohol is not advisable. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18 years.
To make a great beer like Castle Lager, you need 4 ingredients. The perfect hops, the finest malted barley, the tallest sun-kissed maize, and the purest water. But you need more than that. You also need the best master brewers in the world to bring them together in a way no one else can. To create a taste big enough to satisfy a real African thirst. A taste that is somewhat dry, somewhat bitter, never sweet. It all comes together with a Castle.
All right, let's go to Germany and your weekend results. Arminia Bielefeld winning at home to Freiburg 1-0. Eintracht Frankfurt, their good season continues. They won a 7-goal thriller 4-3 versus Wolfsburg. Borussia Mönchengladbach holding Hertha Berlin to a 2-2 draw in the capital. Werder Bremen thumped by Leipzig 4-1. Good result, that one for Leipzig. Schalke, they have won. Oh my goodness. I have to laugh because this is a team that couldn't buy a win. They beat Augsburg 1-0 and then Cologne beaten by Mainz 3-2. Elsewhere, Borussia Dortmund young midfielder Jude Bellingham chipped in with a goal in a match. A teenager Ansgar North fired in an 80th minute winner. And of course, Dortmund maintaining their slim hopes of a top 4 finish with the 3-2 victory at Stuttgart. Bayern Munich held to a 1-1 draw by Union Berlin. Alois, just a quick one on Borussia Dortmund. You've got to admire their recruitment policy. I mean, the amount of youngsters that they've got at Borussia Dortmund who are playing well. I mean, Jude Bellingham, 17 years old, and he already looks like a world beater.
Yeah, my God, this is admirable. You know, they are now beginning to be actually the masters of development in German football. Not really, you know, sometimes it's not even coming from their own development academy. They have got scouts. That's when you can actually see that they've got a very good network of scouts. They are going around there looking for these youngsters and they are plucking out world beaters. You know, I'm admiring that because right now they are bringing them in for next to nothing, but they're going to be selling them for millions. Look at Haaland right now, how much they're going to be selling him. Look at how much they are going to be selling all these youngsters that they are bringing in. It's actually good business for them. As much as they are fighting for the top 4 finish, they are also doing business in the recruitment drive as well because they are going to earn millions of dollars from these youngsters and they are playing well as well. So I'm happy with what is happening at Borussia Dortmund. If I was a club owner, I would take that template from Borussia Dortmund and use it exactly as it is because for me, this is the way to go.
Absolutely. I mean, Jude Bellingham, you've got the likes of Moncanjo, you've got the likes, of course, of Sancho, Holland, so many good young players at Borussia Dortmund at the moment. Tonight's action, Hoffenheim versus Leverkusen.
We'll end off with a quick look at Serie A. Your weekend results: Spezia 3-2 against Crotone, Parma going down 3-1 against AC Milan, Udinese with a loss against Torino 1-0, Napoli 2-0 against Sampdoria, Lazio 1-0 against Hellas Verona, Roma managing a 1-0 win against Bologna, and Atalanta 3-2 against Fiorentina. Matteo Darmian was the unlikely hero as Inter made it 11 league wins on the spin with a 1-0 triumph over Cagliari, in the process restoring their 11-point lead at the top of Serie A. Juventus coach, though, Andrea Pirlo, played down Cristiano Ronaldo's strop after their 3-1 win against Genoa. Alois, quickly, Andrea Pirlo's future looking a little dodgy at the moment. Juventus currently sitting in third and out of the Champions League.
Yeah, Chris, I don't know what the policy was. I don't know what they decided when they employed Andrea Pirlo. So we might not know what exactly what is the project that he is doing at Juve. We don't know. But if it was a top coach that was coming into Juve to win the Champions League or whatever it is, I would say that he is a goal. But right now, we don't exactly know what was the project. What exactly did they tell him? So we don't know, because he is their son. They knew that he was a novice. They gave him the team. So we don't exactly know what were the expectations there. We just have to wait and see. But for now, I can see that the title is gone away with Inter Milan.
Title's gone with Inter Milan. The rest of that top four: AC Milan in second, Juventus in third, Atalanta in fourth. There's action tonight. Benevento takes on Sassuolo.
Well, that's all we have time for on our Monday edition of ZiFM Sport. Barry Manandi wasn't with us today. He'll be back tomorrow. And in his words, that's our story. But we are sticking with it. ZiFM Sport, out.